Welcome to Let the Quran Speak. I'm Aisha, your host. As you may be well aware, municipal elections recently took place in cities across Canada. Everyone took part in some way, whether they were voters, candidates, or simple bystanders watching the election process unfold, from putting up signs, canvassing, and going out to vote. But how many people genuinely care about voting? Do people believe in voting and its potential impacts on their lives and those of others? From an Islamic perspective, what does the Quran have to say about civic engagement? Dr. Shabir Ali, president of the Islamic Information Center, is here with us today to help us explore some of these areas further. So Dr. Shabir, can you tell us a little bit about the role Muslims need to play, or should they play, in communities when it comes to civic engagement and responsibility?
Well, much of the Quran speaks about Muslims being active in their societies, in eradicating poverty, looking after the needs of people who are marginalized and distressed for a variety of reasons, and generally to promote good in society. The Quran in the 5th chapter in the 48th verse says, فَاسْتَبِقُوا الْخَيْرَاتِ, race with each other in doing good things, in good for society in general. So Muslims need to be engaged. In the 2nd chapter of the Quran, there is a verse that talks about commanding good, forbidding what is wrong, and again racing and doing good deeds. So it's you know, we have all kinds of competitions for things, and people are measuring themselves and they want to be winners and so on. So the Quran is basically saying compete in doing good deeds.
So on that note, what is the Islamic perspective when it comes to our participation as voters and then also participating in the elections?
Well, as voters, naturally, by casting a vote, you are making some small improvement. You could be shoring up the opposition. You could be guaranteeing the win and the victory of the candidate that you really choose. And by casting this vote, it's like registering your opinion. I think that this person has like a list of priorities which gel with me, and those are important for the society in general. I want to vote for this person. So you are making some small improvement in the overall picture.
In terms of participating, we do have a lot of Muslim candidates that have run actually in the recent elections, and 2 particular candidates actually came out and voiced that their signs were defaced and had, you know, commentary, Islamophobic comments on their campaign, specifically Munira Abukar, who was a councillor candidate, and Ajaz Butt, who is a mayoral candidate. What is the response there?
Well, when things like this happen, the initial impact could be to make you feel a little bit depressed. Here we are in Canada as Muslims. We're trying to be part of the political landscape, and we're trying to contribute in all areas of life, including, obviously, in politics. And if there are some people who give you this kind of reaction, it could make you feel, well, wait a minute, we tried so hard, but is it really worth it in the end? But the other, I mean, after this initial impact, one needs to rise above that and say, well, indeed, it's all worth it in the end. If there are some people who have the wrong impression, there are hundreds of others who have the right impression. And Canada is a cultural mosaic. It welcomes people of all different nationalities and speaking different languages, bringing different cultures with them from foreign lands, and that makes Canada all the richer as a cultural tossed salad, in which as opposed to a melting pot where everybody gets diluted into the same soup. But as a tossed salad, you can see the tomatoes red as they are, the cucumbers green as they are, each thing with its own delicious taste, but all together making the combination look good and desirable. So that's what Canada is. It is a tossed salad. And we need to keep it that way, and Muslims need to be there as a necessary ingredient and keep themselves there right at the top so that they can be seen and heard, and not heard as complainers, but as contributors.
So in a salad, like you mentioned, some vegetables stand out more than others. For example, red tomatoes stand out more than lettuce. So just using that example, what do we do for someone who says, well, there are a lot of non-Muslim candidates that are running, and the Muslim candidates are being laughed at or mocked at through such smearing campaigns, for example. Another school board trustee councillor had a similar experience. What do you say to the average voter, Muslim voter particularly, who says, you know what, it's great someone else is running for the elections, I'm very happy for them, but I'm not going to vote because what's the point, nobody respects me?
Well, your vote counts, and it's a civic responsibility to cast that vote. It's like if you're in a meeting and something is going to be decided, and you're there sitting with your mouth shut, and the decision is going to be steered away from what is good, you have a responsibility to speak up and say, hey, wait a minute, this decision is not going right. I have an opinion here. Please hear me before you make that decision. You may not agree with me, but please hear me out. And that becomes your responsibility to voice that opinion. Well, in casting a vote, you are actually voicing your opinion in the public sphere, and you are helping to decide how your country or your city is going to be run. You cannot just leave it for other people to run it. You can't say, I'm not part of this meeting. You are part of the entire populace, and you do have a civic responsibility. And Islam actually calls upon us to be active, to be engaged, to do what is right, to help to prevent what is wrong. Sometimes you cannot change everything as you would like, but you can make some small difference. And where you can make a difference, you ought to step up and make that difference.
So what are examples of some of those differences that we can make, common strategies that we can implement, working in partnership with Muslims and non-Muslims?
Well, I spoke earlier about fighting against poverty, and you know a lot about that because you engage with Charity Week, helping to raise funds to support orphans and the needy. Muslims can do that. You work with Ministry of Aboriginal Affairs. You're aware of violence against Aboriginal women. Somebody needs to defend these women and people in general who are suffering violence of any kind. There need to be procedures in place. Muslims need to lobby their governments to make sure that these procedures are in place so that vulnerable people are protected. There are so many different ways in which Muslims can get engaged in their society, and everyone can do something. Every individual has a unique set of experiences and talents, and they need to put those talents to use.
By finding the right organizations that they may feel will benefit them and also the community.
Exactly.
Thank you very much, Dr. Shabir.
You're welcome.